times can reel that back. The Sonya obviously was picked up last game, tends to be the more aggressive team fighting hero. But Dahaka for me, we saw first pick for Simplicity last game. I think there are several high priority heroes that might be a little bit different in this series than we would see them in other series.
I agree. We have seen some Dahaka bans on this map, Abathur too. Two globals to keep in mind. Tempo Storm has played both on the same draft even, but that was from a second pick position. They picked both of them at once. Tempo keeps with a Garrosh ban. What do you make of this now versus Simplicity?
It's got to be something behind the scenes, because we have not seen a lot of Garrosh at all. I mean, you could count the number of Garrosh picks on one hand or no hands.
Simplicity played Garrosh and Hammer. Maybe that's their, you won't play it without Hammer or without Garrosh.
There's not been a lot of Garrosh games otherwise.
Right.
So again, keeping that out of their hands, Simplicity. If we see a Genji ban here, wouldn't be surprised. They do go with that, so Garrosh Genji leaves up the potential Tracer on this battleground. But if you're willing to pick a Tracer, I think you're going to have to wait, because if you do pick Tracer here, you can expect the Hammer on the other side. So do you keep it safe with Mouth? Do you keep it safe with Dahaka? I think those are questions that have to be answered here in the early going for Tempo.
Abathur's still up too. It's cool to see Simplicity switch over to second pick though. Give up first pick so that they can be in the second pick. I expect that from whatever team loses this entire series. If Simplicity agrees that Tempo Storm fares better in that, then I think they're going to be very unlikely to give that to them. But there is your Dahaka for Glaurung.
I think it makes a lot of sense. And it really kind of makes me wonder. I hate to say it, but I just don't see Zuna ready to pick up Yrel. I mean, he's obviously switched over to the melee role. He loves when new heroes come out. Don't get me wrong. When new heroes come out, it doesn't matter what role he's playing. He wants to play that on his team. I just don't know if Yrel is a Zuna hero. It doesn't do what Zuna wants it to do. It doesn't kill people. It doesn't go in.
Oh, my.
They committed to it. They committed to it.
Oh, man. All right, Tempo, you have so many picks to choose how you want to counter this.
I got a feeling they're still going to go into the Johanna. It gives you the blind. It gives you the ability to walk in with the iron skin.
Will they get Chromie? Worked for Prismat.
He's really, really accurate.
He is.
If somebody out there had the time to just go and like track every skill shot, I've tried it. It takes a long time, right?
I was like, isn't that the thing that you did?
I did that going into BlizzCon last year. That took eternity. I learned a lot from it, but my goodness, it is very time consuming. I'd like to see that though for Chromie picks. That'd be pretty amazing.
All right. Old counter for Sergeant Hammer is getting a lot of global pressure because just like we said with the double globals and Sergeant Hammer for Simplicity, the globals take care of the rest. Sergeant Hammer doesn't have to deal with the immobility. You don't get hypercooling engines until level 13. You can, you get Hover Siege earlier, but you don't want to be trying to run around all over the place dealing with Global Siege. In Tempo Storm, they have played a pretty solid game with Abathur in the past on Towers of Doom, slowly chipping away at structures until suddenly they want to fight and take a lot of bell towers at once.
To further your point, I think that if you're on the side of Tempo, once we get to the Simplicity ban, Falstad has to be considered. It's what they played before. It's what we know K1 can play into. And if you're worried about the disengage, yes, you have to stay while and listen to lock people down. But you also, if you protect the Hammer composition with a little bit of damage and some global focus, Falstad has to be considered in that Tempo slot. But for Simplicity, you're looking at Abathur. I mean, what's a scary clone for Hammer, right?
Greymane.
Greymane.
Oh, yeah. They've taken Genji off the board. Now they take a double Greymane that does not care about dying and does more damage, so he can just jump on Sergeant Hammer. He's gone. But there's still a lot of clones, and there's a lot of hat targets. Murden is a fantastic one, and great heads-up ban now from Tempo as they take away that Falstad.
Makes a lot of sense. And for Simplicity, now you got to start looking at other options. You have plenty of damage in Sergeant Hammer. You don't necessarily have to commit to engage, disengage. It's a matter of how to control the battleground. Again, Yrel's not really going to win any lanes. It would lose out in terms of clear to Dahaka. You just don't lose the lane in terms of structures. So does Simplicity feel that maybe we need to be aggressive with our composition other places? I can see the Sonya coming out for Zuna, but Blaze, if you're looking to really protect the Hammer, Just put him in a bunker.
I think Blaze would be good, though I'm also trying to think of dual soak heroes. Possibly someone who can keep up, and Uriel has Divine Steed.
But Blaze has better clear.
Yeah.
And against the Haka, the problem, I think one of the biggest problems is with Uriel going against the Haka is that if you want to try and double soak, you'll eventually lose out by the second or third rotation. Uriel is going to be picked up. That's surprising to me, but Johanna can help take care of some of that wave clear if it is needed to have that rotation mid. That is something that we have seen teams do, is rotate that Johanna from bottom to mid for one wave to alleviate that double lane pressure for Uriel.
Still getting a Sergeant Hammer draft on Towers of Doom, but now we're starting to run into the question of, do you sacrifice too much by having to pick her as early in the draft as they did? That's what Simplicity has to answer as we head into the game.
But Abathur, right? So playing the Abathur has normally been fans' forte. I don't know if Ben plays Abathur, but you know.
Ben plays Jaina.
He plays Jaina, but are you willing to commit Jaina? I mean, Jaina has great wave clear, has great kill potential, but against the Uriel and Johanna, you're not really locking them down too well. So Tempo Storm, this is very intriguing on what their clone target is going to be.
We find out now.
I think the Johanna pick also, in case they wanted to go Karazim, also works out really well.
Yes.
They're going to go Karazim. I think the Johanna pick, they expected the Karazim, gives you the blind, gives you a little bit of control, and I can see this going all in. But a Tracer going in, I think this is the one thing that the clone target likely will be Muradin, but I guess it will be Karazim in this situation. You get that dive potential with the extra damage, but it also gives you enough heals to sustain against that. So for Simplicity, if they want to deal with the double heals potentially coming in, I think they could use some more damage to burst through that and lengthen the duration that double clone gets, because Karazim's heal was nerfed I guess a while ago to where it's a little bit longer on that cooldown reduction. So even if you stagger those properly, you're still on a timer because of the clone, but more importantly, those heals. You can burn through those heals if you pick up another damage here.
Well, the Abathur Symbiote Carapace will help with that. But it's still Tracer versus Sergeant Hammer. Can you get the dive and the pulse bomb? Is her armor going to be enough before quantum spike damage, or to deal with the rest of the damage? Last pick? I think it's gonna be.
I want to say if. Okay, that's not the if I was going with. I was gonna say.
I wondered
if K1 was gonna play Hammer, which it's been Hosty so far. Hosty could easily flex over to that Medivh. And so if you want to mitigate pulse bomb damage, there's multiple targets.
Yeah.
You're not. The whole thing about the last target that you go with is that you cannot be a liability. Brightwing depends on where we're talking about liability, but does have the Pixie Dust, which gives that spell armor. Fourth Pulse Bomb does have the Polymorph. Emerald Wind, if you want to engage, you got Stay a While and Listen, you got Emerald Wind. You just can't stagger those. But you got a lot of control around that Hammer.
Worked for Freedom in one game, didn't work for Freedom in another game. But I was thinking to myself, there is a global left, but will they bring her out? After Dahaka, Abathur are picked, Falstad's banned, turned out they will, especially because Tracer was picked by Tempo Storm, having the point-and-click CC of Polymorph, the spell armor that's going to help out. They're pretty survivable. This is the Protect the Hammer, about as protecting the hammer as you can get with a double support and double warrior.
It's cloning the target. You're dealing with so much with one hero. But communication has to be there so you don't overlap a lot of these things. Needless to say, Sergeant Hammer, they're all in on it. And
well, let's all in on this game then. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's get it going.
Sergeant Hammer has changed so much since Midseason Brawl.
Who's playing what here? Fan? Fan plays Tracer and Vin Abathur. I think we had one Vin Abathur game before. I'm looking right now. No, I lied.
You tried to fool us all.
I did. K1 Pro, there was a time he played second support. There was a time when he played primary support, so this works out.
A little bit of everything.
It's a cute Brightwing skin too, oh my gosh.
Good old Halloween skin, or what do we call it? What's our event called? Hallows End?
Is it Hallows End? No.
No, that's WoW.
Well, I think they're the same. Oh.
Same.
Nope.
Well,
For real?
Zuna's hero does do something and
Whoa.
dives right in, and he aggressively came in. He's ready to go.
Yeah, I want to see Holy Avenger for Zuna. If there's ever a player, I want to see that 1 second cooldown from a full charge at 7. It's Zuna. If there's one thing I don't want to see, but sometimes you got to deal with. It's a pause.
It's a pause. I normally get comfortable over here, but
I know. You sat down.
sat down, hung out for a bit. Life's hard for us tall folks. Look
Yeah.
how easy it is for you to lean on the desk. I actually have to
Go on.
come forward a little bit.
What we saw was the diving in from Zuna.
He went straight in. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, let me just get the hammer, got him knocked through. So I say it's not his style. I just think that he likes things that kill people. But as long as he can dive in, we know that's where Zuna likes to be.
Yeah, and I mean, Ardent Defender, you give him that, he gets 3 seconds of the barrier and the self-heal. He can just be as in deep as he wants to be.
Zuna revive. That's what everybody's going to be typing. Zuna
Yeah.
live.
Any other points that you want to make about this draft, what we saw in the first little bit of fighting?
I mean, the aggressive nature, obviously, Zuna went in, had a really good hammer. That's really the only thing I think that I could spotlight there in that situation. I think it's really going to come down to something that you made note of in Tempo's last series, is the sapper control. Not just on the bottom, but in the top as well. It's something they were very, very aggressive in trying to go into. The problem with this composition is they don't necessarily have that same type of Merc control. Because they have the Abathur and a Tracer, it's nothing anywhere near like that Grey Mane.
No Pixie Charm for Brightwing, sadly, so she can't really do too much of that either. This is an aggressive hammer positioning in that bush, but with a Scroll of Sealing, we're going to see Hosty reposition. That seems a little bit better. Caterpillar's still going to put the hurtin' on here.
Yeah.
CK1 Pro at the top. He's questioning if he needs to come in. He's going to phase shift in, actually.
Those mines not down in time. There they go. They're going to get the chase. That's going to give a little bit of damage. Cap goes in, and Cattle gets punished there.
I remember a time when I saw Hosty play a ridiculous Sergeant Hammer game, even before last weekend, which was still very good, which is another reason why we see K1 Pro playing that Brightwing.
Look straight up, though. Cattle got 5 stacks on his Perfect Storm and his baseline.
Man.
That's where a Tracer has a hard time. This is a lack of a Tassadar Tracer, too. So normally you can go in, trade out a little bit, look for an opportunity to get a kill, maybe a little bit of extra damage. But when you don't have that supplemental shield and healing there, you cannot stay in there nearly as long.
Yeah, you'll need to have communication over the symbiote and when that's available. But having the healing from that too, wanting to drop that on so that you get the heal starting to go up. Fan is a Sergeant Hammer player himself, so he knows how much he can test the limits of Hosty and the Sergeant Hammer whenever he goes in with that Tracer.
Well, the early hammer value has come in. Cattle, though, is okay stepping in. He's gotten 2 stacks the last 2 times Siege mode comes up. He's using that on cooldown, continuing to stack up to 7. That does hurt late game. The fact that he's actually managed this many stacks, he just got another one. I'm keeping an eye on the counter on the side here, but the fact that he's continuing to get those stacks is potentially late game very impactful.
Now the first Alter phase is about to begin, and though Simplicity do have a global in Brightwing, this is still fraught with danger, and especially if anyone pokes their nose in, which we see Brightwing do, Murden 2 jumping in, they have the symbiote damage there in First Blood. First Blood on Tempo's side, as they also pick up the aggressive Alter on Simplicity's side. Really well done adaptation from Tempo Storm, doing some of the things that we saw from Endemic too, focusing more on the top lane, knowing that it's a lot easier, just trying to take that, getting a kill there, trying to exploit Simplicity and that Sergeant Hammer pick.
You break up the norm, you break up the meta, so definitely a change up there. You know, we saw a nerf just recently to some changes to Urel's level 4 talents. One of those was Gift of the Naru. And so this one was the one that was nerfed pretty significantly, but it's being picked up here, giving that healing over to your allies.
Yeah, you can't heal yourself with it, but it feels like it does factor more into the Protect the Hammer comp. Although, you could also have a guaranteed target with Avenging Wrath and Aegis of Light to give the 35 armor, but As we can see here, there's already a lot of armor going around for Hosty, so maybe it's more about just trying to have that help with the burst healing from that. Having the cooldown reduction on Divine Purpose already is going to give more of the healing, so you're going to get that procced technically more often as long as you're using your Divine Purpose a lot.
Hover Siege mode is generally what Sergeant Hammer wants, generally the best thing to kind of play around with the hammer compositions, and allows you to be a bit more mobile instead of sieging up, re-sieging, sieging up, re-sieging. This time you can be a bit more aggressive, and right now aggression in that middle lane is a thing. We're going to see a rotation down. King Caffeine's going to hold point. The Scroll's going to go down. That's going to keep Cattle at bay. Now sitting at 14 stacks on his level 1, 17 on the baseline, so 8 more before he gets that Pierce, and he's another target here. But June passing out those heals is Deckard. Excuse me, not Deckard, but Karazim. Both my Diablo guys.
Yeah, the guy who has Earth Ally that is hopefully going to help versus that Sergeant Hammer. Another point I wanted to make as we get this next Altar phase going is the idea that last time Simplicity played Sergeant Hammer on Towers of Doom, it was not versus an Abathur. An Abathur who can mule up the structures has been able to heal up quite a lot in that bottom lane. Hosty, though, Caterpillar comes around the side.
It is a slow siege with Hammer. I mean, yes, Hammer does a lot of damage, but it is a very slow siege. You can actually see a great job capturing that on that bottom left bell tower. You could see that mule already in effect, and the fight's going to rage on here, but Simplicity way too much zoning, and Tempo Storm knows that, you know, they do much better when they have level 10, so conceding a couple of altars there, just behind 4 core health at the moment.
Yeah, this is an understanding of your opponent's composition and where they thrive. And those, that mid and the bottom, as long as Sergeant Hammer's around, it's going to be hard for Tempo Storm. Because they got both of the altars in the first phase, they're not too far behind here, and they're keeping up in experience, and they're keeping that bot bell tower alive. So things are just fine for Tempo Storm, though. Hosty's going to slowly make his way on in here. And that does net Simplicity some more sappers. Let's see if they can finally bring down this bell tower as they start to siege up for it.
This definitely should be enough. I mean, the sappers aren't going to do a tremendous amount of damage, but it's going to be enough to whittle it down to allow Hammer and team to take down the rest of this. You know, the one thing we're actually taking a look at here is Fan on this Tracer, even using the Pulse Bomb to try and trade out here in the middle. And I really like this adaptation. I mean, you're not necessarily going to out-siege as Isolation misses. Sidestep, not going to dodge the drag.
He had to Ardent Defender there. I think that was Avenging Wrath. He was charged up that got stopped by the drag.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. If you want to get Hammer out of position, Gilly,
you just hammer her into your team with another Haymaker.
Alrighty, so Cattle, not the first time he's run this. Here's the priority. The Haymaker. Okay, Emerald Wind's going to be there. Zuna trying to survive. He's going to go ahead and come out, but Divine Steed not enough. Fan tracks that down on Tracer. 10 seconds should be enough time for Tempo Storm to come down here and contest. Brightwing did already use that phase shift. Tahaka's actually going to come in. We can see on the right side of the screen. This is a precarious spot for Simplicity. Maybe one they'll have to concede, but Hosty's still invisible for the moment. But Deckard is the problem here.
Tiger JK is going to fall down now as Deckard Cain gets hit by the Isolation. Hosty stayed in his ambush for a long time until finally he interrupted. That's why I was chuckling about, but really, this has just been so good, so fluid from Tempo Storm. It starts with Fan in the mid, Dahaka in the top lane, then Fan comes up. They get the kill. Zuna dying basically twice because he had to use Ardent Defender and that kept him alive, then getting caught again. That was most unfortunate for Simplicity. That really was a huge problem.
Okay, you want to talk about guts? Hosty is...
dead?
I don't know if he...
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to try. 7-sided strike is enough. When I see that on the minimap, I'm like, there's no way. He's got to be hearthing back. He's got to be hearthing back. He never hearthed back. It doesn't matter if you don't have that keep or not. There's no way you can go there. On the top side of our screen, Glaurung making plays onto Zuna. Simplicity, they're going to hold point now. Bless shield, but where's the damage?
Ooh!
Well, there it is.
Right there, right there. They condemned into the Scroll of Sealing, and then with a stay on wall and listen, Karazim goes down. K1 Pro gets to the other side, knocks him back. We see Fan is able to get out with his recall, Caterpillar 2, so no further deaths. But in a place where we thought there was just no way probably to get kills here, Simplicity goes to their stronghold that they've stolen from Tempo Storm and makes it happen.
Yeah, that is a major turn of events here. Simplicity, after what seemingly them giving up control, has now reclaimed control. They're also picking up some sappers. Bottom altar is going to be the lone altar spawn here. Tempo Storm still slightly ahead in terms of XP, sitting at 13. Zuna, he's trying to get up there for the soak. See if Fan is willing to commit a pulse bomb here. Does get some structure damage in.
Knockback into the Scroll of Sealing 2. Simplicity playing very well around this Deckard Cane pick. Doing their best to get these sappers into a position where they can go in and give the shots, but Tempo Storm just as easily haymakers it into the 7-sided strike. That's one way to get an isolation kill.
You look at Caterpillar on the minimap. We'll keep some eye on up here, but watch the minimap. That is Murden going on the backside. If he gets an Abathur hat on that Deckard, we're going to see this could be trouble for Tiger JK. There's a little bit of stun. Tiger does have that healing. Tahaka's coming in as well. This rotation by Simplicity is slow right now, but they do get the polymorph out. Cattle, no Avatar. Wow, that was major turn once Brightwing came in.
Yeah, that polymorph was awesome, and then the blunt force gun quick on the uptake. That bullet will bring down the dwarf. Zuna and Glaurung facing off underneath the bell tower, and this game is pure mayhem with all these globals with the Sergeant Hammer. Now June's getting chased down. What a mess. This is awesome. What's up?
I was looking at some stuff. I didn't quite see how it played out, but definitely some action going on. But this top lane under pressure between those Locust and Tahaka, definitely some pressure up there.
Zuna's knocked him back. And Simplicity have been able to keep a hold of this bottom. It's been a while since I looked at the core health because this has just been so much fighting. But it's 22-29, Tempo Storm hanging in, and they still maintain that experience lead. I think especially if they can get this mid, then they're going to pull a lot of the resources of Simplicity back to that mid to have to deal with it as more and more continue to go through. But this top lane, Zuna is proving that he does have the Urel on lock.
Well, let's hope
that...
Yeah, Ardent Defender's already down. 7-sided strike's going to be enough. Just as you think he's got the chops, Tempo Storm comes from lurking through there, and he's not making it out of that one alive. So they are trading blows here, back and forth. K1 Pro gets the poly down. And Dem's going to land a little bit of punish damage.
Need to be careful. This is the triple altar phase. Remnants of old Sky Temple days. Tempo's gonna have 16 from this. And bottom is pretty much it, but if Tempo Storm is forced to be at the bottom with the sappers, they really want to get this bell tower to get the extra shots. They do secure that. With that 16, should be able to get a lot done here.
Yeah, this is a lot of control. It's just the bottom half controlled by Simplicity, but mid and top both controlled by Tempo. Zuna taking some damage, will heal up. King Caffeine and team, they're going to be here. Tahaka's going to try and deal with the bot lane, but he's going to come in. That's cleared up enough. Here he comes. Here comes the hammer from Cattle. They're going in looking for a bite. Stay a while and listen. Locking down multiple people. Fan comes in with a pulse bomb. But that's going to be an ice block in return. Kerosene first to fall. Fan trying to get out alive.
Fan's going to go straight down, but a Sergeant Hammer is there and very nearly claims that Tracer's life. The channel's happening, Tempo Storm has to give it up. Even without Sergeant Hammer, Simplicity have been able to get kills that I have not thought possible, purely because that Blessed Shield from the Johanna Stay a While and Listen and Emerald Wind 2 has been so powerful in this composition. Simplicity will take back mid. Bot looks to be the focus for Tempo Storm, as Simplicity also need to get top back.
Yeah, they're definitely going to prioritize this amount of control. Top lane, you can use your global alongside the solo. This is a very slow siege. You'll probably have to wait for one more minion wave. They might be able to brute force their way through, but the priority obviously is this bot lane. Map going to be evened up here.
Man, I wondered if maybe we'd see Cattle jump in looking for another haymaker, because we see Karzim's there too, and with Tracer, it is a possible place to get the old haymaker 7-sided strike isolation to death composition.
This is Hammer.
Uro.
Yeah, multiple people have shown, and Zuna's got to be aware of this. You know, you see Tracer mid lane dealing with Brightwing.
You just use Avenging Wrath.
He's got Ardent Defender, but he's not going to be able to use it because he is stunned. That is so well executed by Tempo Storm.
Yes.
There is no other combination that you can really go with. There might be a few options in order, but in order to make that happen, that requires flawless communication and execution by Tempo Storm, and they pulled it off there. Bless Shield out. They're going to try and fight back.
And they used the Polymorph on Glaurung too, seeing if they can stop the self-healing that he gives. Emerald Wind wakes up people from the stay a while and listen. So maybe a slight overlap with those abilities. We see a bullet flying from the blunt force gun. Kind of like a Dragon's Arrow, still showing that you've got some global presence even if you're very far away from the team. He's always there in spirit.
I don't know about contesting this. Haymaker's going to buy a little bit of time. That should be enough for June to complete this. Cap's trying to get in there. Blind, not able to get out in time. Avatar on the backside will channel that. So 8 shots will go over, and that will even this game up. But again, the control of this map continues to be a topic that we will continue to address. It's the bot lane, so important. We'll see as the altars going forward, Gilly, as we've seen double altar top multiple times. You got to imagine the next few, obviously it's RNG, but either the bottom 2 or somewhere near the bottom, probably going to be an issue here soon.
This has worked out a lot better for Tempo Storm, and I expected that. Simplicity really seemed to surprise Endemic with the hammer comps, but Tempo Storm being at MSB, hearing a lot about it, theorizing about it, has shown that they have what it takes to try to counter it. And a lot of it is this. Stunned out of Emerald Wind, stun taken out. Somebody has to be in that top lane. Somebody wants to be able to take that back, but every time someone goes there for Simplicity, that 3-man rotation from Tempo Storm is just too much to handle.
Right now, Tracer is chilling, and this is 4 members. There's Bless Shield. Is it going to be enough? Do they have any other type of lockdown?
He's
There's
going to
be
recall
right on top of that. There's another stun. Fan is going to fall. That is a very inopportune time. It did buy time for Tempo Storm to get the boss, but is that going to cost him? Because that's 4 shots that are readily available in the bot lane now.
Yeah, but they chased for so long that a lot of these sappers were taken care of by Cattle. Zuna just used the hammer too, so no knockback further from this. Tempo Storm stopped the sappers. I feel like Tempo Storm is one of the best teams in the world at sapper control, whether it's using their Stukov, Garrosh. They're just always really good at doing what they need to do to either stop them or ensure that they can get them in. And this has allowed them to get the lead here, especially with that 20, but losing the Tracer does mean that Simplicity catch right back up with another few shots, just 13-12.
Brightwing. I don't think you can't lose bot lane, but you cannot commit another solo here.
You could Haymaker out of that too if he's willing to take the shots. All right.
There's a stun. Cattle, by the way, sitting on 39 stacks, so that is a significant amount of damage starting to pile up every time he lands that. Glaurung, see if he's got the knockback. Coming in, there's going to be the lockdown. Contagion hits multiple members, but it does not hit Zuna on the Urel. They're moving forward, but they have no minions, and that is a major problem. That was what kind of kept them at bay. Had there been minions there, they could have chased for that kill, but there was no possible way. Now, I love the rotation. Simplicity recognizes the next threat is the bottom. They can use Zuna and K1 Pro up here to retake top lane. We're back on even battleground. Double altars will be here soon in that mid and bottom. And now we're basically back to a reset on this map, it feels like, Gilly.
The orbital BFG.
That's one way.
On Towers of Doom. Did he take that last time? I
think
remember.
Tempo was the one that took orbital.
Yeah, but it wasn't on Towers.
It was on Volskaya.
Or played her. All right. Next altar phase is mid and bot. With it being this close, I love that Tempo Storm just goes in and tries to take structure for structure.
That Earth ally ate enough keep shots. They're going to have the phase shift in the backside, see if they can separate them with the Emerald Wind. 7-sided strike has hit multiple ice blocks. Actually going to be there. K1 Pro with the Emerald Wind out. The silence on Zuna. He's going to be the first to fall. And that is a major misstep there. Tempo Storm overextended. The clone is out. See if they try and re-engage here because the altars are active. And this is an opportunity now for Simplicity to take control of this game. Caffeine holding point.
I mean, it should have all but been a Brightwing kill, but that last second ice block was just enough, and then continuous wins. Tempo Storm are still going to fight for these. Brightwing in the bottom. Blunt Force Gun been repositioned. That's around Abathur.
It's one of those things that eventually on the next cooldown, 60 seconds, you want to get that shooting straight up and down on this map. Everybody knows it's there, but you have not had the position. But look for that to happen. Zuna takes a bit of damage, self-cleanse is there, and now the hammer composition looking again to take control of this battleground, what they've done before. A numbers advantage, no clone available. Dahaka still 15 seconds away. Can, however, brush Stonker in if they want to be aggressive. But again, that mule that you mentioned earlier in this game, Simplicity, has to bully their way through this.
Yeah, they do. Step forward, which may make someone a target if Caterpillar wants to come around. When Dahaka does come back for a haymaker, but now having that bell tower is exactly where Simplicity wants to be. They're okay with giving up mid, but are they okay with giving up more than that? Because Tempo Storm are just going to head straight to the top lane now. They're even going to bring Dahaka up there, get the sappers there.
They need to retake that mid at minimum. Boss is still about a minute away for those wondering on the time on that before that becomes a point of contention.
BFG is almost up.
BFG is almost up. You need to have this on rotation. You can see he's already positioning himself because the next altars, Gilly, are top left and top right. It's generally a trade, but this does give the positional control. Nice timing on that to rotate with the other one that was expiring. But now that orbital does put a timer on this, no matter how many times you retake that. The problem is
Hammer died!
Posty needed a hearth there, Gilly. There's no other way to put it. He needed a hearth and then meet his team up at the top. Pathing anywhere through that middle area is probably the worst place you can path.
Simplicity have 12 shots left. So theoretically, they could give these both up, but the boss is in 10 seconds too.
Double altar and boss at this point, it's lights out. Glaurung already used his Brush Stalker in. He's going to try and zone out Caffeine. He's on the top side of this. Will have interrupts. There's going to be a drag. Do we get the follow-up, June? There's going to be the interrupt. Zuna's starting to walk away. Brightwing coming in for the flank as well. But all it takes is 1-7-sided here. Iron Skin going to dodge that Stormbolt. But I think this is double altar capped, and we're still 8 seconds from Hammer.
I think they're just trying to slow this down as much as they can until they can get Hammer back for the boss fight. Zuna didn't use Ardent Defender, he used his Seraphim. He's going to use it again there. It's on a 10-second cooldown. They see eyes on a lot of Tempo Storm. Hammer's back, half pulls in Glaurung. BFG is going to fire from this mid lane.
Yeah, I could see Vin on Abathur do a little shuffle back there. He's like, whoa, 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 hold on.
I thought that one had hit him. It looked so close to it on the mini-map.
Are they going for boss? Are they trying to force this boss, or are they holding? Okay, they're holding. I saw several members go up there. They have Emerald Wind available, which can force people off boss. Tense moment here for both teams.
They need to get somebody to get Brightwing on that point, if that's the case.
Here comes Dahaka. Contagion was used. Isolation's there. Pulse Bomb goes out, gets stuff. Not enough. Glaurung pinned against the wall is able to get that. Emerald Wind is already down, and this boss is still active. That is their major control point. Stay a while and listen is available. We know Urel can hold point, can self-cleanse there. Boss is not leash. Tempo Storm, I don't know if they're willing to contest.
Hammer!
Cattle goes
Hammer! Hosty staying alive, just barely 7-sided strike as Hosty bails out. Stay a while and listen. Stops Caterpillar from going onto the chase. Zuna dives onto the point. Caterpillar there too with a hammer, knocks them off. 4 more shots for Simplicity. This game.
And the altars are active in 18 seconds. Whoever channels this is going to win, so the fight's going to continue. The clone is already there. There's going to be the shift in, the clone down, so it is now a 5 versus 4 with the Abathur hat available. And this is going to be it, 5 seconds away. No matter what, who channels here will win the game. No clone available for 60 seconds. As we'll have the standoff here one more time, see if Simplicity can even this series up.
A lot of the heroic abilities are back. Caterpillar gets polymorphed. Does he win in? The Scroll of Sealing trying to keep Simplicity alive. Double isolation. Decker King has gone down. Now Simplicity have to do this without one of their supports, but they take down June. They take down the support, and Muradin has fallen too. I think Simplicity has done it here.
They have fought valiantly behind this hammer, and just like we saw before, I think this is all for naught. I don't think there's any way possible when you have the Abathur hat, but this is pretty much checkmate, and that it is Simplicity evening up the series. And now, just like what we saw before, does this warrant a Sergeant Hammer ban or a map pick, which we know that Tempo Storm loves to do, to try and get rid of the hammer?
I loved that game. That game was so awesome.
Yeah.
All of these Simplicity Hammer games are so much fun to cast. Chaos. So much fighting everywhere. And Tempo Storm with their Tracer and their awesome shot calling very nearly did it. Oh man.
The 11-sided strike that ended up coming in and Sergeant Hammer's health bar.
I know.
It's like, is it going to hit? Is one of those going to hit? Obviously, it's percentage-based
Right.
damage, and you've got everybody grouped up in there. It's one of the best ways to deal with 7-sided strike is for everybody to kind of take it. But that was wild. That boss, I'm like, there's no way. And Zuna, as much as I was critical of him potentially coming in on a new hero, the last one I saw him on Maev was not that great.
Yeah.
But he comes in with a big hammer. That was a big swing to that fight as well.
What an amazing game between Simplicity and Tempo Storm. I hate to say that we have to go to a break, but we gotta go to a break. But we'll be back soon with Game 3 of this amazing series. See you soon.
Keep up with your favorite players and teams on the official HGC website for desktop and mobile. Stats, archived matches, and everything you need to stay up to date with the global Heroes of the Storm Esports League. Watch live on game days and upgrade your Heroes of the Storm knowledge. 2018 promises to be the best year yet. Look for expanded statistics, enhanced viewing experiences, and more on your home for the HGC.
Simplicity has proven that they are ready to roll out in this series versus Tempo Storm as they take a win on Towers of Doom with Sergeant Hammer herself. And we're about to find out very soon what the next map is going to be. But I can tell you now, it's a hammer map.
It's always going to be a hammer map from here on out. Got him.
It's a hammer map.
Well, this brings up an interesting question because I think at this point you have to ban out Hammer on that first one. Simplicity obviously willing to pick that up in that 1-2, and unless you're willing to flat out first pick a Hammer as Tempo Storm, have we seen that? I know it's been in the 1-2, but I don't know about first pick yet. But I think it's a safe ban here unless you're willing to try and chromie into it. I mean, it could. I'm trying to think of hammer options, like hammer counters, and I feel like there's too many protect the hammer comps that work too well, and it makes it difficult to engage into the hammer.
Yeah, we've seen Simplicity work really well with hammer and the globals. We have seen hammer and Deckard, which that is a lot of protection. Those scrolls of ceiling, they just sat on top of them at the end. Like, you talk about protect the hammer and that 7-sided strike, they all just grouped together as one together. And then the scroll of ceilings too, it was so much used to protect that, even the double support that worked out for them. Granted, it was a close game. It was very close. But I also felt like some of that was mistakes by Simplicity getting caught.
One thing if we're not going to see Hammer is, I know Hosty's been playing more of the shared role in terms of letting K1 be the majority damage dealer, except for in those Hammer compositions. I want a classic Hanzo from Hosty. A Hosty Hanzo is something we haven't really seen a lot of, if at all, since we've been back. It's been, you know, one of those heroes that hasn't necessarily been there, but Phoenix obviously has had high priority. And I think this is obviously a very good Phoenix map, but a Phoenix into a hammer, anything into a hammer at this point outside of Chromie, it's got to be something else. Maybe when Jimmy comes back.
We've even seen the old Thrall Zeratul trying to get on a hammer.
Yeah, see about that draft.
But that was